All right, so I'm going to be making a video about how to overcome your fear of speaking. I used to go through plenty of phases where I was afraid of speaking to people, but now I'm in a place where I'm absolutely not afraid to speak to anybody. Literally anybody, I can spike up a conversation with them, whether it be someone who is an old grandma, a hot girl, an old guy, or like a scary looking criminal. Like, I really have no problem talking to anybody nowadays. So, I'm going to be telling you how to get to that position as well. So, a lot of people struggle with getting words in their heads to come out smoothly when speaking. And the key to this is realize that talking fluently is a skill and it's not something you're just born with. So, another big thing is a lot of people will have this phenomenon where they go and take a shower and they think about the conversations they had earlier in the day, and they have this really good dialogue in their head where they are so articulate and they are really doing a great job in this argument, and they're getting their points across very easily. But whenever it comes to actually doing that in person, they don't do well in speaking. And the reason behind this is because speaking is really a thing that is perfected through practice. So an example for this is going to be, imagine you want to um, do a karate kick, like a flying karate ninja kick, right? You can imagine it all day long, but whenever you go to do it for the first time, you're not going to be able to do it. It's going to take a lot of time of deliberate practice to be able to do that karate kick. So it's the same thing with doing speaking to people. It's really a skill that you have to develop, just like the karate kick, or like doing like a backflip, for example. So let's go into some practical tips on how you can do this. So you can practice talking, and the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Additionally, I also want to say that you want to calm your mind whenever you're talking to people. So take a deep breath before, and don't be afraid to do like long pauses. And then you can also, like, talk to yourself. You can do what I'm doing, which is record videos, which is even like another hard skill to develop, because whenever you're talking to someone, you have their body language to bounce off and their ideas to bounce off. However, whenever you're doing a video like this, you're just really going from nothing but your brain. So this is really good practice for me as well. So outside of that, you can talk to people in everyday life, like cashiers or like the coffee barista, people at the park, and practice holding eye contact. It's going to build confidence and comfort in these situations. And also look at people who you want to emulate. So people who speak well, who you think that, wow, they really know what is really good, and they sound really articulate and smart. You're going to want to go ahead and just copy their rhythm, their tone, and energy until you find your own style, which is going to be inevitable. So, really, what this is going to look like is you're going to take small pieces from many different people, and then that is going to be how you develop yourself and your skills. And this might sound kind of weird, like, oh, that's so inauthentic, like you're just copying people. But if you think about it, it's how humans are. You learn how to speak from emulating your parents and everybody around you whenever you're growing up. And a lot of us just didn't have like the most optimal development plan. So we are going to have to go back to kind of square one and emulate people and just take from a bunch of people until you develop your own kind of style, which will just happen naturally. Now, another huge part that you need to know when speaking is failing is part of the game, right? So even if you think you've been doing this for years and you should be at like a perfect level of conversating, you're still gonna fail. I mean, I know you've seen it throughout this podcast. There's plenty of times where I stumble on my words, have to pause, do like ums and ahs, and that's fine. If you look at literally like the most articulate people in the world, like Barack Obama, they still have mispronunciations. They run over their words sometimes. It is inevitable. And once you accept that, that's really gonna help you overcome your fear of speaking to people. Um, and that's going to be like really the biggest needle mover, is to realize that people are not perfect when communicating, and no matter how long you do this for, you're still going to have problems. And whenever other people mess up in their words, you don't even realize it. Just like how whenever you mess up in your words, no one's really going to realize it unless you bring attention to it. So that's a huge one that you need to know, and it's going to be your biggest needle mover. So I also want to talk about some other practical things you can do. So strike up random conversations with people. Ideally, like people in line where it's not going to be awkward, like you have a reason to talk to them, and then eventually you can get to like the level where you're doing like cold approaches to like a girl you want to speak to or whatever. And here's the thing, guys, is like I've gone, like I said, now I'm like in a place where I can literally talk to anyone, no problem. But guys, I literally started at the same point of I was absolutely petrified to go and make a cold approach. And there's times where I did a cold approach and it was good, and there was times where it was absolutely horrible, where I'm like shaking in my boots and I have nothing to say, and the girl just walks away. But you know, as time passes, you're able to just like look back at that and laugh at it, and you realize that the girl really probably thought, "Oh, that was weird," but she doesn't think it's even like a big deal anymore. And it's just a part of life. Like I said, no one is perfect, and it's going to be a lot bigger in your head than it is in their head. Another point I want to make is the power of silence. So you got to be okay with silence. A lot of people are so afraid of silence. They're so afraid that they have to constantly carry the conversation and keep on talking, and they're afraid to let that silence be there, and so they'll just keep on talking. And here's another action step for you is, and this is going to be really helpful, is don't be afraid to let the silence be there. So the next time you're having a conversation with someone and you feel like you need to keep the conversation going, don't be afraid to just sit there in silence. And you'll notice that sometimes it'll be like 30 seconds of silence, and they get so uncomfortable with the silence that they're going to bring something up, and then it's going to be a different kind of conversation. And it's just a really helpful tool if you're afraid of conversating and socially being out there, just not to be afraid of the silence and just being comfortable with that. So yeah, that's a huge one. Um, Ideas for how you can keep a conversation flowing. You want to ask genuine questions. People love talking about themselves, so that's a huge one. I'm always asking people questions because not only do they like it, but I actually genuinely like learning about it too. So that's pretty good. Um, you don't need to force the perfect sentences. Just focus on like connection, and like really just focus on being in the moment and learning what they're saying and listening to what they're saying. Over time, your spoken words will start to match the ones in your head naturally. So, like I said earlier, with the doing a karate um, kick, eventually, if you keep practicing the karate kick, the one that you were imagining in the shower is how you are going to be doing it in real life as long as you're practicing. It's the same thing with conversating. All right, so yeah, guys, I just want to say exposure therapy is going to be a huge one in this as well. So, what exposure therapy is going to look like for overcoming your fear of speaking is going to be just making small incremental steps. What that will look like is, first just like talk to your mom or something, kind of get used to that. Then go out into public and, you know, go in the line at like Starbucks or wherever, and whenever you go to buy something, like ask how their day is going. Don't just do like, like sometimes they'll ask like, "Oh, how are you?" And you say like, "Good," and you. You say like, "Oh, my day's doing good. I went on a bike ride earlier today, and now I got really thirsty, and now I'm here. So like, how's your day going?" Or something like that. Like just add a little bit, and then just keep on progressively finding new people to speak to, and then eventually you can get to the point where you are making cold approaches to girls in the mall or whatever you want, and you have the ability to kind of just rely on yourself and not be afraid of these situations anymore because you know how to navigate them because you've done it so many times. But yeah, guys, just make small incremental steps and keep on trying, and really understand that whenever you are not the most articulate individual and you stumble over your words, just understand that is normal and it happens to everybody and no one else really thinks about it. And if you do fail and people think about it, it's not really ever like this is a subhuman. They'll kind of just laugh at it and just like, oh yeah, just learn to laugh at yourself. It's really not that big of a deal. Like I said, the most articulate individual like Obama is still gonna have problems with being articulate. And also, I just want to say, if you ever have a moment where you like can't think of anything to say, you've asked too many questions in a row, a fun way to kind of think about something else to say is also going to be, oh, this whatever reminds me of this time. So pretty much whenever you're out and about and you're like hanging out with some people, you can just be like, oh, this candle reminds me of my grandma who used to bake us cookies or whatever. That's just like another pointer I can give you guys in this video. But yeah, you can do this. Small incremental steps. I believe in you. You got this. Oh, and if you made it this far in the video, top link in the description is my full anxiety guide. If you are someone who has struggled with anxiety or agoraphobia or panic attacks, you might want to check that out.